Welcome to Owen and Brews Barbecue. Today we are serving up the very best in Caladan cutlets. My name is Matt, and I am joined by a slew of the very best in Corvus Comfort Foods. Nick, we have Nick tonight, Chris, and Jay, the alleged owner of Owen and Brews. Welcome everyone.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Is that an inside joke that I don't know of?
No, we've talked about it before, you know.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
Yeah, it goes back a ways, you know.
That's true.
Only I listen to the old episodes.
Excited to be here. What an episode.
I couldn't let Jay show up for an episode and then not be here for it. So,
well, we were. Matt was talking, Chris, that you've been on a total of 6 Owen and Brews episodes. I think I might have been on more than you.
Is that right? 6? A total of 6? That's it.
That's
you're a lion sack of.
Hey, you remembered.
This
you remembered
is
this.
PG. It's a PG.
Yeah,
sorry.
We try to keep it as
sorry.
close to possible. So, so
I mean, my claim to fame is I just name stuff. I don't know.
you drink and you.
I set the fire and walk away.
Yeah, it's kind of like Ringo. You know, it's like Hard Day. Yeah. Like he comes up with the titles, but really, it's you know.
You practically designed the whole podcast and the whole like chef counter. You told us where to put the refrigerator. You know, which if we were going to use gas or charcoal, you know, like you set it all up. So
there you go.
So just spoilers ahead. If you have not seen Chapter 13, why haven't you?
What's the matter with you?
Yeah,
the Mandalorian season.
You're doing it wrong.
Like if you decide to take your time to listen to us and not watch the episode, you got something wrong.
So big spoilers ahead, I guess. And the biggest spoiler, I guess, or the biggest thing that's been under the hat for so long is Grogu, right? Wouldn't you say?
Grogu.
I don't like it.
Would you have liked anything though? You know, like it's one of those things.
Look,
like
I probably would have, but like in a world of Anakins, or Skywalkers or Obi-Wans and things like that, like can you ever hear someone say Master Grogu? No.
Yeah.
No. It's not like Master Skywalker or Master Tano or it's like no, it's Grogu. It just sounds weird. It sounds like what's the marinara sauce?
Oh, ragu.
It sounds like ragu, like Master Ragu. Like, hey, how you doing? Like, yeah, we're gonna make you some nice spaghetti. Yeah,
Here's the problem: is ragu's not Italian. It's like the furthest thing from Italian.
True.
I kind of dig it. I mean, Yaddle's a weird name. So like,
that's why she was only in that one scene. And they wrote her out of the.
I mean, even Ahsoka didn't remember. It's like this is the only one I've ever seen, and Yaddle's like, what the hell?
No, Yaddle wasn't there after the Phantom Menace. So
my problem with that is because sure we didn't see Ahsoka till the Clone Wars, but she was in the temple for like 10 years.
Yeah, she was there.
They had to cross paths at some point, or maybe she never.
Maybe Yaddle was pregnant.
I mean,
like,
she voted us out.
She was like, I gotta step back because people are gonna start connecting the dots here that Yoda and I hooked up.
I mean, it has to be right.
They bumped. They totally bumped. Right? There's no question.
Yaddle and Yoda. It's the fact that we've confirmed that Grogu was in the Jedi Temple about the same age as Anakin. I mean,
same age as Anakin. Yeah.
Yeah. So
I imagine that they're similar to the frog people. Yaddle probably dropped some eggs. Yoda stepped by and was
divided.
Like, what is this? And just kind of accidentally like sprayed him, and then boom, that's how we got Grogu.
Well, it's the old toilet seat.
Yeah.
It's the bees and the birds. It is.
Oh man. Well. So okay, I guess
I have Grogu here. Maybe I'll just ask Grogu what he thinks. Wait, is it turned off?
Does it actually make no? Oh, they actually makes sounds.
Yeah, hold on.
I am really enjoying this season's all the cooing.
The cooing's been really solid.
Oh, his eyes move and everything. Wow,
oh, yeah. This is the interactive one.
But by the way, for all of the listeners at home, all four of the panelists here, we all own a Grogu.
We do.
Yeah, mine just fell behind my desk. Hang on.
Our medium age is like probably 40. So
Yeah, true.
Yeah, Matt, you really bring up the average. Thanks, bud.
I do, and every year it just keeps getting higher.
Hey, listen, I'm the youngest one here. I'm still solidly in my 30s.
I said medium
Right,
age.
Grogu? I mean, Grogu's the oldest one here, so
It's true. It's true. It really
Not by
is.
much.
Yeah,
It's true.
So,
Matt's creeping up on him.
we're all 40-year-old men that just want to babysit a 50-year-old.
A 50-year-old baby.
I don't know what psychiatrist needs to.
That's what it's like when we podcast with Jack.
I think you just explained the RCAD. So if you like the banter, check us out on the RCAD where we get more explicit.
I don't know why he wants to be on this podcast so bad. Yeah.
What are you guys' hot takes of the episode? Did you
Oh my
like
god! I mean, really, hot takes? Like,
yeah. Like, did you like it?
Dude,
Love it?
the entire episode is just one huge freaking hot take. Like,
it's true.
for me, like, first of all, like, how? Okay, I'm filtering out expletives because this is a non-explicit podcast. But how flippin' awesome was Rosario Dawson as Ahsoka? Like, not even just how she acted, but how she looked, the makeup they did. It was incredible. The white lightsabers, amazing.
It looks beautiful.
Just badassery. I can say that, I think. If not,
Sure.
well, charge me. It was just incredible. And then, like, just when you think you can't get any cooler, any like new, like whatever, like flashy stuff, they go and drop a bomb on you towards the end. And I know Nick and I are extremely excited over there. Sorry.
Why are you leaving out the old guy?
Because it has been long since said on this podcast, in the 6 episodes that I've been on, that one of my favorite characters in the Star Wars universe is Grand Admiral Thrawn, and I cannot wait to see what happens, whether it's on The Mandalorian or if it's on its own show or its own movie. I don't care. I want him to be
on the show. It's happening on the show. It's just like it's like when Lost had Jughead. You have a atom bomb brought onto the set. You don't just not detonate it. Like we all knew Jughead was going to explode at some point. So I feel like you drop the name like Thrawn. It's like,
well, I love how it's playing the kind of same beats where. Moff Gideon's kind of this Darth Vader, right? Where you think, oh, that's the big bad guy. But then in Empire's like, oh, wait, there's an even bigger bad guy.
Yeah.
And I love that if like Moff Gideon's kind of the Vader to Thrawn Emperor. Right?
Well, that's what I said, I think 2 episodes ago when Chris was last on, about how that was one of the things I could see happening, is that, same as in Rebels, you think the Inquisitors are going to be the baddies, and then all of a sudden, in the 3rd season, Thrawn is introduced, and you're like, oh, like, this is cool. And I was like, I can see the same thing happening right now, is that, you have Moff Gideon, who's just, he's just a Moff of one sector, of the Outer Rim. But who's in charge of the remaining part of the Empire?
See, the thing I'm excited about, because I have not watched Rebels in its entirety yet, so I don't. But here's the thing: I don't know Thrawn from Rebels. I know Thrawn from the books.
Oh, okay.
And Thrawn from the books, in my opinion, like, is amazing. So I just haven't had time to catch up on Rebels, but I will. But from what I know from the Thrawn, like
similar beats in Rebels as it is the Thrawn.
Because he's a quote unquote bad guy, but he's really kind of not. Like, he's an anti-hero in some respects. Maybe not in Rebels. I haven't seen him in Rebels, but
I think the thing that we love to hate about Thrawn,
judging by the look on Jay's face, I'm dead wrong.
The thing that we love to hate about him, and it goes all the way back
I don't hate any blue cell of his body.
Okay, but it goes all the way back for me to Heir to the Empire, because when that came out, it was just like that was the first Star Wars we had post Return of the Jedi. And who is this person? How could you have someone rival that of Darth Vader? And hats off to Timothy Zahn for creating Thrawn, who is a mastermind in his own right, so smart. and creates such a foil that it lives on. Thrawn lives on and is now in the post-Disney, world of Star Wars. So
what's great about good characters. You can't get rid of them. You don't want to get rid of them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, really good villains you love, even though you hate him, you love them. I mean, it's the same. Maul has these moments of just maniacal like insanity, and yet we still enjoy him. So,
but what I love about Thrawn compared to like say the Emperor is even more so, whereas Emperor pulled this massive conspiracy to overthrow the Republic. Thrawn, but the flaw of the Emperor is his ego and just him assuming he's infallible. But Thrawn seems to kind of have his ego in check, and I think that's what makes him the most dangerous to me. Is just go ahead.
And he's smart as filter. He's super smart. Like he's like probably the most intelligent individual in the Star Wars universe as far as tacticians go. Mm-hmm. Like he's one of the smartest dudes in the universe, and that's what I think I love about him. And again, I haven't seen Rebels. I'm now realizing forgetting that the new Thrawn book came out recently as well, which I need to now read once I get through Ready Player 2 first, and then I'll move on to Thrawn. But
I'll tell you what happens in Ready Player 2. They go to an arcade.
Stop it! I'm reading it now. Literally reading it now.
They play, I think, Centipede. There you go. And then he drives. Is it the A-Team van? I think it's the A-Team van. And
none of this has happened.
Listen, Ready Player One is fun, but it's literally like here. It's just a scattergory. It's all these '80s words and just throw them into a book.
Matt, can you mute him?
I know.
Oh no, it only works on Jack.
Their blood.
He's got this immunity medallion. I think somewhere behind him and all.
He does, yeah.
As the owner of the barbecue, I have.
Yeah. His wife puts the sizzle in every episode.
Oh, there you go. Literally. Quite literally.
So I know. Since we have four of us on here, it's hard to go beat for beat for this episode. But we should at least kind of touch on some major points or major arcs that happen in the episode. Specifically, the opener with Ahsoka. I mean, just jump right into the action here. So.
And that's what because it was rumored from like the end of last season, right, that Ahsoka was going to make an appearance or whatever. Mm-hmm. And the whole time it was like, okay, maybe she'll show up, and but she'll maybe be just a cameo kind of thing, like with both kind of big guest appearances with Bo-Katan and now Ahsoka. It's full pedal to the metal Jedi action with the sabers, with everything, and like not holding anything back. It's like, oh, this is a straight up movie. It was 45 minutes, and it was incredible. And I know there was so much grumbling that as Ashley Eckstein that she wasn't going to portray Ahsoka.
But she doesn't look anything like. I mean, it just doesn't fit.
Yeah, I mean, Matt and I had said that like
she's like a soccer mom.
Well, she's the voice of Ahsoka Tano. Yeah. When I think of Ahsoka Tano, I think of Ashley Eckstein. But I mean, like either Chris or Jay, you're right. Like she's too small to be the character. She doesn't have the body shape for it. And Rosario Dawson did a perfect job. I mean, from what she could do. I mean, she did great. I mean, my only nitpick, which it makes total sense from a prop point of view, is that her mithrils or her hair was not long enough. It's more like Padawan Ahsoka. Mm-hmm. But they made that as a choice because from her moving around, they couldn't have these weighty things being as long as they would be.
Yeah, and I mean, you go back to like Clone Wars. I mean, like, look at Dooku. Like, what is wrong with his face? Like,
right.
Like Clone Wars versus like what happens in the movie. So
I couldn't help but think though when I was watching Rosario Dawson in her what do you call her hair?
Montrals. Sorry, I said mithrils, but I mean montrals. Yeah,
I thought they were montrals. But I could be.
Well, I'm just go ahead and say her hair reminded me a lot of like the squishy toys that kids are obsessed with right now, because you could tell that they were just wrinkling.
Right, yeah, like the foam,
I actually thought that those were like laser blasts or like actual scars. Like
no, I think because even in the animation, especially later seasons of Clone Wars and stuff, they'll have the kind of little wrinkles in there and stuff.
Yeah. But like, honestly, God, like I remember when she first came on the screen, I'm like, is that CG? Is her face CG? And then they zoom in, it's like, no, that's just Rosario Dawson in crazy makeup. And if you look at all the screen, like the like a side by side comparison of Ahsoka from Clone Wars and Rosario Dawson, if you're ever going to make a comparison between a cartoon and a human, it's pretty spot on. Like, it is amazing how well they did that whole,
Yeah, and hats off to the casting, because they've been casting people that can do these athletic stunts. I think that's a really important thing, that it's not easy to make the leap from a cartoon to like real life and to like bring everything over. Like, some things just get lost from cartoons, like how we read them, how we are able to move around with the action. It's so. To make that transition, I think that this episode, the pacing of it being a little bit slower, like letting you kind of linger on some shots, that was like a definite director choice. He doesn't always do that with the scenes, but I think that was also kind of to play out this more samurai meeting the West aspect of it, which
there were just some really cool scenes where it's just like that Filoni would do with his animated series that he would work on. It was just like he just had this scene, and like when she comes up and slices the bell or whatever, and just kind of had that really cool kind of anime kind of moment that kind of set on. And I was like, I really dug that. Him translating that to live action is something that he did really well in both Clone Wars and Rebels.
No, it's a visual aspect. I mean, he, even in if you watch the behind the scenes for the Mandalorian, and his directing portion, he talks about like even getting his first job at Lucasfilm. He's like, I'm not somebody that does animation. Like, I make the artwork or the pictures, and so, but that stuff translates though, like in that scene where like you see the moon and you see the burnt trees and you see Ahsoka there, like with the little lantern and Grogu, like, to me, like those images like are really like, they kind of burn in your brain. Like, oh, like that's so cool. Like, I could just look at that, or like you said, the bell, or like the slashing of the wood, the tree.
It's like, it really felt like I was watching a live action Clone Wars episode.
Yeah,
that's the best way I can describe it. Like, it really felt like, from the direction, the the art direction, everything. And I mean, granted, we're probably a little bit of Ahsoka is making me feel that way too. But like, it just felt really good. Like, it was a stark contrast from last week's episode, but it accompanied 2 weeks ago perfectly, and I'm excited.
Did you guys not like? I loved last week's episode.
I did not.
I made a comment last week, Jay. This was the first time probably in history where Matt was more negative than I was about an episode of anything. Yeah. Well, not that he was like a super downer, but
it's fine. It's a fine episode. There were other episodes in the season that I liked the passenger more. I liked the pacing of it, like the feel of it. The Siege it felt like a TV show version of The Mandalorian and not a cinematic movie version of Star Wars. And
it was my least favorite episode of the series.
And it's fine. Like I think that
I'm gonna make a joke about Billy D. Williams directing it, but it's been
right.
I mean,
that's never gonna die, is it?
No, ever. I mean, Dak does it all the time. Like, and I don't think he really.
He doesn't even know what the hell he's talking about.
That's exactly. So I don't think he understands the joke either. He just kind of like, oh yeah, didn't the guy from Billy D, the Colt 45 guy, he did that, right?
To be fair, I did not realize until even well after the episode that I watched it. I did not realize that he actually directed that episode.
And makes sense for you.
What's that?
That makes sense for you. Only says it right after the episode, directed by.
I wasn't paying attention. Only makes sense for me.
Siege. I thought it was fun.
It's fine. There's some fun things in there.
Whatever.
You don't like it because we don't like it now.
No. I loved the episode. I thought it was a lot of fun. I dig those characters, and
I bet you don't like us.
Well, Matt, tell Jay your biggest and my biggest problem with the last episode.
Oh, I was like, how did this ship get fixed so fast? Like, he was gone for like 2 hours. It takes me that long to just like fix like my door lock.
Like it was a day or two. Why are you jumping to conclusions?
How is it a day or two? You're telling me that Grogu was in that school for a whole day? Where did he sleep?
You don't know.
They have a school camp. They basically like they meet up with the Grief Karga, and he's basically like, "Hey, now that you're here, and we got a babysitter for you, convenient. Why don't you and I go and hit this other place that's on the other side of the planet here?"
Oh, come on! Where the speeder bike troopers jump off the cliff? That was awesome.
It was awesome.
We're not talking about the action.
The whole episode. I'm just saying, like, how did his ship get fixed so fast?
These are good repairmen, right? There's no Mon Calamari work here. I mean, this is solid welding. Really,
the Mithril character was completely wasted. He was a cool character from the beginning that they could have. Instead, he's in this weird slaver's debt. Like of all the conspiracies that we've had this season, and trust me, there's a lot of things that people are upset about, including Grogu, the name. But nobody's been talking about like, oh, it's okay for this person, Grief Karga, to have a slaver's debt for this guy who's lost his vision. I mean,
just in one eye. You only need one.
Paying off his debts. Would you rather be dead or pay off your debts?
He wanted to make it home for Life Day, so I guess if Life Day comes every
home for Life Day,
you gotta make sacrifices.
And he worked off like 150 years in according to you 2 hours. So really,
it's true.
Seriously, 2 hours,
130 years.
Target.
Oh, worst negotiator ever.
Yeah,
Karga's the kind of person that's just like one day he's like taking off 100, but then the next day he's like, "Oh, you brought me the wrong coffee. Another 50 years on your little life sentence, there, buddy."
Yeah, that's what it should have been like. Yeah, it should have been adding some on there too. Yeah.
All right, let's get back to the good I mean, they're
So you guys. All right, so you guys mentioned little things that you noticed on the episode about it being very Filoni. Mm-hmm. But did you notice like the little things that I noticed? Like there's 2 little Easter eggs that he likes to throw in there. So
owl.
You have the convor when he's searching in the forest, and you also see a meerkat later in the episode as well.
Lothcat.
Sorry.
Lothcat.
I'm Star Wars.
You mean the convor?
The convor.
But the second I saw that, I was like, there's.
Yeah. I did see the convor a lot faster than I saw Gene's guy, so
True.
I think that's a part of the directing.
Who's no longer there, sadly. We will mourn him forever.
R.I.P.
Yeah. No, they already CG'd him out of the episode.
Oh, snap. Okay.
Yeah. I do imagine him like just being taken out in the back and like, sorry, we gotta let you go.
Maybe you're all
look at the flowers. Look at the flowers.
I think Nick, you may have shared it too, but like the action figure they already have of Gene's guy.
Yes. Yeah, it's so good.
I mean, I fully expect if we have a Comic-Con 2021, someone to be dressed up as Gene's guy. Just have like a wall in front of him and just an arm and a watch, and
perfectly acceptable too.
It's a long line of just people like the Boom. He died recently, rest in peace. But the Boom guy with the little shorts. Yeah. There was one of those at Comic-Con one year. But no, that was cool. Also, I thought was just neat. A nice little touch was the unique sound of Ahsoka's sabers, like hers. Since they were, Inquisitor stones that were basically converted from the red, they kind of had that more aggressive, igniting sound. I don't know if you all kind of did that as well.
Well, she ignited him enough, that's for sure.
But that was cool. She was sneaking attack. Like,
no, I get it. Yeah.
Oh, the one scene where she was like right behind you, she's like, I was like, yeah. Also, it was neat to see that Beskar could, go toe to toe with a lightsaber blade. That was
it was a very important thing that they set up, right? Because Nick and I have talked about this that there's a lot of people that are watching The Mandalorian and they're like, wow, this is the first time two women have ever fought against each other. And you're like, welcome to Star Wars. We've been watching this stuff in the cartoon for years now. But thanks for joining us. There's all sorts of colors of lightsabers. We're just getting to the tip of the iceberg. So I think it established an important rule there was, the lightsaber on the Beskar, furthered by the spear. And then, of course, our character, Din Djarin, he got to level up on this. If this was a video game, it was like, bing, bing. It was like, you have gotten the spear that will help fight the dark saber.
Your little sound effect there sounded eerily like the tones at the beginning of the episode.
I know.
Can you do that again?
You did the Mandalorian tones, the theme.
You did. Boom, bing.
Oh, right.
Hey, we haven't talked about the fact that freaking Reese was in this episode, by the way.
Yeah.
Michael Bean.
Right?
Bean.
Bing.
I don't know his name. I assume it's Reese.
Michael Bean, yeah. Kyle Reese, yeah. Johnny Ringo.
Oh, yes.
And there was a callback to that whole thing, the Johnny Ringo.
It's true. Lost again.
Yeah. I kind of felt there was a little bit of kind of like in the episode last season where you have this really cool assassin and then the killer at the end of the episode. It's like I felt this was kind of the same with Michael Bean. It's like I kind of was like, oh man, what a waste of a good actor. It's like I was like, don't kill him, because to me it didn't make sense at the end because he's no different than the Mandalorian. Is that he's just a hired gun, and when he realizes that Ahsoka's in there fighting, I think I would have been like, well, let's just see who wins. And at that, it's like, just walk away. So to me, it made no sense for him to really draw down each other. What do you have to gain at this point? The man's covered in head to toe in Beskar. Do you really think you're going to get a shot?
Beskar, baby. Gotta get that Beskar, baby.
Yes.
For a second at the beginning, I thought Lang, who's the character that he plays, I thought he was Fen Rao for a second. Like he just had a similar like facial expression or whatever, or like just his facial profile or whatever. So Fen Rao was a Mandalorian from Rebels. He's featured in Rebels and I think appeared in season 3. So anyway, side note. One thing that kind of touches back to Rebels though that I saw in this episode, and I'm sorry to spoil the one person that still hasn't caught up to that. But it's subtle, is that you see as he approaches the planet of Corvus, you see like the burning fires kind of like expanding out across the continent. And it reminded me of Lothal when season 4 there we see, I think it was episode, I wrote it down, Crawler Commander, where there's these machines that are basically kind of leveling and going across the planet to basically collect minerals for the Empire essentially. We also saw an AD series smelting droid. This is the droid 88 who we saw from Jabba's palace and Return of the Jedi. So the fact that there's a smelting droid, the fact that there's like all of these fires going on, and we see this like burnt forest. The last that we know, Bo-Katan probably thought that this was a forest planet. This is no longer a forest planet. So it made me think of like the Empire's influence here, or perhaps what their other goals are with this planet.
Got to build those Emperor Sith Star Destroyers.
Well, it makes sense, with the Magistrate, knowing her, what limited background we know, because this is the introduction to that character, and that, she was a high up person that helped build the Imperial fleet. And then you're saying Lothal, I mean, if you think about it, that's exactly where Thrawn was, in charge of, and was getting minerals for the same purpose. So it makes sense that she's an underling of Thrawn to be doing the same process to harvest minerals to.
I thought there was just a cool connection there that like there's something similar to that's happening here, and this episode has a very like Rebels feel, in the fact that you see the town that is being assaulted and under siege and under lockdown, and in the end the city is freed by the acts of kind of like a.
So really, it's kind of. Sabine Wren just a bad Mandalorian because all it took was Ahsoka and Sabine Wren, and they freed the whole planet. And it took Rebels and all that crew, the Ghost crew, 17 years to free Lothal. So,
maybe it was just because the Empire was in their heyday and now they're not. So,
sure.
What? Why are you winking?
And this isn't really the Empire either. That this planet. These are just some ragtag people and some weird masks. And,
but I am excited. I'm surprised. I wonder. Maybe it's whenever Din Djarin goes back to help Bo-Katan, recapture Mandalore. Maybe that's when we'll maybe see Sabine Wren. Because to me, the last time we saw Ahsoka was with Sabine, and where is she?
So there's some big confusion or some big kind of questions about the timeline structure here, and some of the things that I've seen online from this Vanity Fair interview, which I was still reading kind of before we began
with Filoni.
Yeah, Filoni and Rosario Dawson were both interviewed, and one of the things that Filoni had mentioned was that this could take place before the epilogue that we see in Rebels. Mm-hmm. So the epilogue that we see in Rebels that someone hasn't seen yet, but it sets up a certain. I'm sorry, Chris. I don't mean to be crapping on. But it sets up a certain dynamic of where it is in her life, basically, that we're kind of wondering. And for him to say that it's this could take place before.
That's true, because the fall is kind of really that just wouldn't happen immediately after the fall of Endor or the Battle of Endor. So that does make sense, honestly, that could happen after these events.
Right. And perhaps she has found a lead on Ezra, and that's why she's coming back.
That'd be cool. That'd be neat.
Which this is my one biggest thing that I pulled from this episode. Would you say Ahsoka is using Grogu because Grogu was part of the Jedi Academy? Grogu can enter a Jedi temple. She cannot. She is having Grogu go to a temple and to call to any Jedi, potentially trying to call to Ezra.
Oh, interesting.
That is interesting. That's a good theory, because really there's only 4 now, or 5 counting Ahsoka potential Jedi. Right. There you have the 2 from the new video game.
Cal, was it?
Yeah, Cal, and then you have there's a woman one too in the video game, and then you have Luke, Ahsoka, and Ezra, and that's it. So that we know of.
Yep, correct.
The beauty of living within a universe, you're there's a couple more.
Yeah, oops, I called out. I didn't get the ones that you were wanting. So sorry, you're not going to see Luke or Ezra or Cal or Jerry. You're going to see Boop.
It's Gary and Jerry.
Bob. One interesting thing about the magistrate on this planet is that her first name is Morgan, which I find to be so funny. It's the most Earth name I can think of.
Right.
We have names like Lang and Ahsoka and Grogu of all things.
Right. That was Morgan.
Record scratch. Yeah. Brittany. Hi, my name is Magistrate Brittany. I'd like to talk to your boss.
It's like that joke at the end of Men in Tights. Your name is Merman, or Vernon? Okay. But that was the joke though a while back. About how in a world of Anakins and Obi-Wans and Padmes do you go, I'm going to name my kid Luke? You just it doesn't make sense. I mean, not to knock Luke, but it's just one of those okay.
But my hardest thing is where do we fit in this commercial break?
I think right now is a pretty good time because we have this beeping going on.
We do.
It's a good place to stop it.
Whew. Welcome back. A commercial break.
It was a really good one about memory foam mattresses.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Cool. The purple square ones.
We have a purple mattress.
I
like it.
Let's see here. Because we're not following a. What'd you guys
on the show? You guys don't even do a recap on this show?
We don't do the recap. I'm just saying, but we're not following a
usually we just like, if it's Nick and I, we do go a little bit more beat for beat, you know. But since there's 4 of us, I feel like we're kind of more hitting on like
3.5. Let's be honest.
What did you like?
Just because he hasn't seen Rebels, we shouldn't, you know, put him in the pity corner.
Listen, I heard the absolute beating Matt took on the last RCAD, so I feel like we can.
It's every RCAD.
Wait, how many episodes did you listen to? Because I mean, and I'm convinced that Matt, what he does actually is he sits there and he writes down like things that he can get dumped on for, and he plans it because it's almost as if it's like choreographed, like every week.
No, I don't.
Matt, you can pick on other people on this show because you're the producer now. Well, I guess you produced the RCAD too.
Yeah, I know. There's no excuse for me.
Yeah, I got none.
But anyway,
what I was going to ask was, so when Mando, you know, even though he doesn't take the contract, you know, to go kill Ahsoka, when he's out there searching, what did you guys think about her? Like, this is the only really true kind of thing I went about, was that, you know, she just openly attacks, you know, the Mandalorian, like, and I even though she's not a Jedi, I felt that was very uncharacteristic. You know, it would seem to me more like she would stand there and be like, you just kind of like, what do you want? You know, and then if something would escalate, I understand they probably wanted some action, but that didn't make sense for me for her to be a Jedi to openly attack, you know, because it's never, I mean, even Yoda says like a Jedi never attacks, only for defense. And so to me, that's the one thing it felt a little offbeat.
Maybe just because obviously they've been throwing everything at her, so she's already kind of like, I can't give him a beat, you know, like she already took on the whole, you know, army before out in the woods. So maybe it's more of a, they've probably been sending every type of person they can at her, so she's just, you know, attack first.
Yeah, I recently rewatched It's Wonderful Life, you know, and there's a point in the movie where Jimmy Stewart is just like so frazzled, you know, and he's about ready to, you know, he's just like, go away, Bert, I don't want, you know, like he's just like, he like gets to that point where he's like a caged animal, you know, and I kind of feel that with Ahsoka. It's just like anything else that you threw at her at that point.
But I will also counter that by agreeing with you, Nick, that and maybe it wasn't Rebels the last time we.
I'm sorry we lost Jay because he was agreeing with somebody else on this show. Somehow we accidentally lost Nick. I didn't do that.
Probably made Nick think something went wrong.
I know, right?
But okay, Nick's here to see this. Okay, but I did think that, like, because again, the end. I guess this is a spoiler for Clone Wars, but I'm assuming you've seen the end of Clone Wars now. Have you seen the end of Clone Wars?
Yeah, Chris has seen Clone Wars.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. But it was just so beautiful how, you know, she really tried to not kill any of the clone troopers on that ship. And she, to me, always does, especially post. I'm blanking on the planets now, when she got basically brought back to life by, you know, the daughter.
Oh, yeah, the
good of the Force. That she will always kind of is that embodiment. Even in the Rebels, she's wearing the all white. So I did think it was interesting here that the kind of the all white, pure good side of the Force version of Ahsoka wasn't really there. It was, I'm going to kill this whole freaking village to get this information. So it definitely, and again, it may just be adapting it to this show. But I noticed that too, Nick, that it seemed far more aggressive, and it may just be, again, maybe she was just kind of inundated and just being, you know, attacked all the time.
But that's the theory going to your first point about, because, you know, Ahsoka is really dead. She died on Mortis, and the daughter gave her life back. And so that's the whole theory behind the convor and her being white, is that the things that her goodness of about, even though Ahsoka was always good, but it's like it's part of the daughter that lives within Ahsoka.
Exactly, and that's, to me, I think that's what makes the character really compelling. And again, I love the Mortis trilogy in Clone Wars. I think it's some of the best stuff in it, as well as when they brought it into Rebels. Sorry. I thought that was, again, some of the most compelling in Star Wars.
And maybe I'll just say earmuffs to Chris, like every time I spoil something big for Rebels. But there's a big moment that like happens where Ahsoka is saved by Ezra. So I assume that she's also has a bit of that life debt where she's wanting to save him. And I think that's why she's so hell-bent. So,
do you think it's 300 years?
Huh?
The life debt? Do you think it's like 300 years?
No.
And,
no, I just that personal like responsibility that like she.
Well, he said, "Come find me." It's essentially what Ezra said, like when they split up there.
Thanks, Chris. So,
all right, I got a question. I'm trying to piece together the Thrawn books. I'm trying to piece together the Aftermath books. I'm trying to piece together all the storylines here. When, in relation to the Mandalorian, was the Siege of Lothal?
So it's probably about 10 years ago. So, because the Siege of Lothal would have been basically right before Yavin, the Battle of Yavin. So it's close to the 9 to 10 year mark. Maybe not a full year. Maybe it's like 9.
Okay, so it's recent. Okay,
yeah. So Rebels is
zero BB.
I'm just trying to potentially piece together some of the characters from like Thrawn's stories that I'm aware of, not from Rebels, but from the books. There's a lot of great characters that they could potentially bring in. I just ruled one out because of the timeline. But thinking of what was the Chiss Admiral female? I can't think of her name. Son of a gun. Anyways, there was a Chiss Admiral, which I think would be amazing to have introduced. She's the one who saves it. Are you guys familiar with the Thrawn books at all, or no?
I haven't read
these. It's been 30 years since I've read it.
Well, he
means the new one.
I have not read the new one.
No, they're really fantastic. I mean,
it's all by Timothy Zahn.
Yeah, it's almost like, the Master and Commander movie with Russell Crowe. It's like that, but like space battles of all time. And it's just amazing. But there's some really great characters. I could potentially see them kind of weaving in and out of the story, specifically with all the connections they have to Lothal and the magistrate there. But could be interesting. If you haven't read them, I highly recommend it. So if you check out the Thrawn books by Timothy Zahn, they're great. And it's what really built my affection, if you will, to
your man crush,
the man crush on Thrawn. and there's actually one of the books kind of is going back to like his origin story, and it's really cool because it goes back to like the Clone Wars time, where Padme's in it, Anakin is in it, and then it goes back and forth in time in the story because Thrawn knew and knows who Darth Vader is, but won't tell anybody because he met Anakin back when he was, just a young lad when he was laying into Padme back in the day. And it's a really cool story how it's called Thrawn Alliances, I believe is the name of the book, where it goes back and forth in time and kind of like dips back and forth between, pre-Empire, post-Empire. And it's very, very cool stories. So there's a lot of really cool mythology that lies in those books that I'm just like drooling to find out whether or not they're going to actually somehow work it into the Mandalorian.
That's what Matt and I had discussed a little bit. That's my theory with this whole Ahsoka asking, like, "Where's your master?" or "Where's Grand Admiral Thrawn?" is that I think this is, even though we probably will see Thrawn in some limited capacity within the Mandalorian, it's still called the Mandalorian,
right?
And I think this is really setting up a movie for Ahsoka and possibly even Sabine. At some point, I'm not sure where they'll put it. But
Disney Plus, they're shopping everything out on there.
To me, it's setting up the Rebels sequel series.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think as far as the Thrawn connection and what the Mandalorian is doing this season is great, because it has shown us these other stories, these little threads in the background, but still keeping. So all of our complaints last season about this episode was just like such a standalone and didn't do anything, and we were frustrated that it seemed so serialized. Here they've peppered it in with these other characters that we've loved, and they've really kind of opened up the accordion files of all of the Star Wars stuff. One thing I wanted to mention before we move away from her, but the Magistrate apparently has this connection to a story called Bug, written by Filoni's wife, Anne Convery. And it's based on an episode of the Clone Wars called Massacre. In the story, the short story Bug, it tells the story, and I have not read this, but apparently it tells the story of this lone survivor from Dathomir named Morgan. So,
this is just like a story. It's not an episode.
It's not an episode, but it connects to Massacre, the episode Massacre, which is from the Clone Wars, and it has to deal with the witches of Dathomir.
Right.
So, but for some, and again, I haven't read this. This is a short story anthology that came out, I think, in August. I haven't read it yet, but from everything that I've read on the interwebs about it, there's some connection or loose connection to this. There was also a hairdresser who had identified the character as being the last survivor of Dathomir, and it was one of those Instagram things that was completely rooted out and taken down. And as someone who has felt the wrath of Disney on Instagram, they will do that in a heartbeat. So interesting connection there with the Magistrate, and the fact that perhaps she is from Dathomir, perhaps she has some type of loose Force connection that we don't know about yet. We didn't see the Magistrate die, and Ahsoka is not one to, I think, forcefully kill her. I could see her imprisoning her until she talks, I just don't see Ahsoka going to the dark side like Ben and trying to force the information out. Kylo Ren. Sorry, I said Ben. But who knows?
His name is Ben.
His name
Ben?
is Ben.
Yeah, his name was Ben. Go to the dark side like Ben. So, but anyway, I wanted to mention that though, just because I thought that was an interesting kind of subtext, and the fact that, to Chris's point, they're doing a really great job of weaving in all of this back stuff. Some of our frustrations with the sequel trilogy, they're really doing a great job with the Mandalorian. So,
let's talk about some of the cute stuff.
Every time he says Grogu,
exactly. Every single time, he's like, "You know my name."
It's about time, you son of a bitch.
Just been calling me kid forever.
I thought the
so cute. And by the way, my kids do that to me now. They think that is so funny. That I
thought it was really cute, and I actually did a little bit of research because I wasn't not too knowledgeable in this stuff specifically, but the whole gear shifter knob.
Yeah.
So I went down a little bit of a rabbit hole researching that. Right.
The gear shifter.
Well, no, it led into a larger story about how this episode was very much like a Kurosawa movie, Yojimbo. Mm-hmm. And it was like the entire story had all these parallels, right? And it even got down to the last scene where the child had a child in the movie had the choice of choosing the sword or the stone, right? And instead of choosing the rock, he chose the little sphere from the ship, which I thought was kind of cool. But there's all these really cool, and I don't know anything about these other movies, but I was reading a really cool article about that, so you can actually kind of check out the similarities between both stories.
Well, and I know Lucas was a big influenced by Kurosawa movies. One thing I'd gone down a rabbit hole of Kurosawa, just the other day, and me being into Japanese culture right now. But I was reading that
that's where he has those katanas behind you. That makes sense now.
Dude, he's the dude from The Man in the High Castle. I'm telling you, that's Matt. He's the guy who runs the antique shop.
I'm just learning Japanese, just personally, just to not to like sell antiques on the black market. But anyway, one cool aspect of never mind. I don't know. The Japanese aspect of Kurosawa is that he was a painter as well, or he was an artist. He came from that background, so all of his shots of all of his movies are like painstakingly set up, and you can kind of see that a little bit with Filoni and the fact that his art background, I think, comes to play where he sets up a scene and he's like, okay, I want it to look like this, So
yeah.
The little gear shifter though, didn't it remind you of the Death Star?
A little bit.
Does it anything but circle remind you of a Death Star?
Well, but it has the trench run going around the center, and
Yeah.
it also made me think, like, okay, does Baby Yoda's dark past deal with him being taken to a Death Star?
Maybe.
I might be reaching there.
Yeah.
A little crackpotty, I will say.
Okay,
I did
I'll leave that for Jack.
I did. I love that scene though when he doesn't want to do the rock,
Mhm.
and then you see it's such a dad and
Yeah.
T-ball moment
Mhm.
because like you see her doing it and he's over there like the head nod like come on do it he doesn't do it and then when he actually takes the ball, I mean it's like he hit the home run. He's like, yes kid, I knew you could do it. Like it's like
He played piano before. Like, seriously, he's good.
yeah.
He's just listen to my kid. He can do whatever amazing feat you need to do. Yeah, no, it's totally hits all the gears.
So I actually went back and to check out that one of those the articles I was reading. I just want to read this excerpt from this article. It says some people point out that Grogu's trial in the episode to take first a stone and then a metal cylinder with the Force is a reference to the test that Ogami Ito administers to little Daigoro in the 1970 manga The Lone Wolf and Cub. In the book, Ogami Ito asks 1-year-old Daigoro to choose between a ball and a sword. If he chooses the If he chooses the sword, Daigoro will be taught the way of the Ronin. But if he picks the ball, Ogami Ito will kill him and spare him a life of violence. So there's actually a kind of a cool parallel there because like they were trying to determine whether or not they're going to teach him the way of the Jedi or the Force.
Well, and Ahsoka like not wanting to teach him because he has this attachment.
Mm.
He doesn't want him to go down this path. But which I guess it makes sense because I mean, of all people, like Ahsoka. And being close to Anakin and seeing that fall, like you would be influenced. Like that's a character choice that makes sense, Like if you want to get on Luke for being a hermit, I mean, look at his role models. But
Yeah.
we can all be upset about the Jedi for not passing along or doing more to tell others. So it's kind of like the same crux that we had with Lost. Like, why aren't people telling everybody this information? Like, this and just tell each other, you stupid writers. So do you guys think that Ahsoka knows about Luke at this point? Like,
She has to.
I would assume, yeah.
She'd have to.
Yeah, have to. Like,
But I mean,
straight.
she sat out the entire original trilogy. I mean, that's what they make a point with that in the Rebels. So you're kind of like, okay, well, what have you been doing?
Yeah.
I
don't know if she's just like it's one of those things like let it be the will of the Force, or something. But
there was a cartoon that I'd seen on Twitter, and I don't know. I mean, maybe it just made me a little bit misty, but it was basically Ahsoka talking to Luke, and Luke telling her that like he turned to the good side at the end, and Ahsoka breaking down, crying. I was like,
well,
stop that. Why would you want to make me more emotional?
Well, so Mark Hamill's essentially said he's never coming back to the character. So will we never have an Ahsoka Luke scene?
Oh, well, Mark Hamill's not coming back, but recast him.
Okay.
yeah, sadly, yeah.
Recast a young Luke.
What's his name?
No.
You just want to do age suppression?
There's no recasting of Luke freaking Skywalker.
What are you going to do? I don't know if they
fine with Han Solo with what's his name. He did a good.
Yeah, but no.
You can't change the age adjuster back.
Unless it's gonna be like back in the day when he was making money as a moisture farmer recasting, like when he was like 12. But like, no, you can't recast him.
How can you do age reduction on Mark Hamill at this point?
No, because you have seen Mark Hamill at the youngest in episode 4. And that's the youngest that you've seen him, but it's been the same actor playing that role since the oldest that you've seen him. You can't just jump into the middle of that timeline and put a recasted actor. It's different with Solo because you saw Solo from episode 4 when he was like in his late 20s, but you see Solo or Han Solo in Solo, he's in his like, early 20s. It's before Harrison Ford. You cannot jump in a whole new Luke Skywalker in the middle of a goddamn. No way, unless it's me. But no, you can't.
Well, let's say they do. Let's say they twist Mark Hamill's arm, and then he goes, "Okay, I'll do 3 cameos, like and 3 different ones in 3 different episodes or whatever." They already showed in the sequel series, with those few flashbacks. They definitely made his beard all brown.
Yeah.
They did make him look younger. I mean, it's hard to make a 60-something-year-old man or 70. I don't know how old Mark Hamill is.
Can't turn it back that
too bad, too bar. But they could make him, in his 50s or whatever.
It's it's like those friends that we have now that we have. Our friends are getting into their 40s, where they on the Facebook they overdo the filter and it's just like way too washed out. It's like, whoa, you overdid it. You gotta push that one back.
Yeah, they're terrible. That's why I hate Facebook. Facebook's gone. Facebook's out of my periphery. 2 months, 3 months out now. It's been amazing not having Facebook.
With all those Apple products.
Those things aside, yes, they can recast Luke.
Yeah, I think it's fine. I don't think it's a big deal.
And if they're not going to do like
disagree.
Sebastian, what's his nuts from Winter Soldier? Looks
you saw that image too.
Yeah,
nope.
Like him.
Yeah,
give him the 70s hair.
No.
Yep, do it. It's either that. If you're not going to do that, Disney Plus, then I say you make an animated series where you throw Luke in there, pay Mark Hamill voice acting money, and we have the original trilogy, or not the original trilogy. Well, yeah, the OT, star group, Han, Leia, Luke, all animated. Like, give it to us.
With the success of live action Star Wars now, will they ever go back to big animated series like Clone Wars and
yeah, that's a tough one.
You can do so much more with it. That's the thing.
I think it depends on the budget too, and the concept, because
so many more aliens, so many more like things like with the ships that you can do, like space battles, like large scale wars.
Up to a large audience, there's so many more people now that are like watching Mandalorian, and they've never seen Clone Wars, they've never seen Rebels because of the stigma that animation still gets.
Yeah,
like even my sister-in-law, she's like, text me like, "Oh, Mandalorian's so good." I was like, "Oh, have you seen Clone Wars?" And I said 1. I was like, "Oh, wait till you get to season 2. Season 2 is great." And I was like, "Well, have you seen Clone Wars?" Or I was like, "No, I've never seen it." I'm like, "Oh, maybe season 2 won't be as good as." But like, anyway, I do think that's it's interesting. For the story, anyway.
Yeah, no,
what
totally.
The hell season of Rebels am I on now? And I gotta hit fast forward on this.
Yeah, you definitely need to get to the end of season 2 because there's certain characters.
End of season 2? What are you?
No, I think I finished season 2, didn't I?
I think you're in season 2. Last time I remember you was talking about it.
The old Disney Plus.
The end of season 2 is incredible.
Yeah.
I'm not denying that's a great show. I just
by the way,
acknowledging the fact that I've got 2 kids and I never get to watch TV.
I've got 2 kids, Mother Trucker. I've seen it.
Well, good for you, man.
So some interesting parallels with this season 2 of The Mandalorian and Empire Strikes Back. You have the Jedi, in the woods, even if it's a burnout woods, It's interesting that like Ahsoka says that, she explains the Force to the Mandalorian, which we've all heard. We already know this. Mm-hmm. She's explaining it to him. But that idea that it's in all living things. They're in a burnt forest. Like everything's dead around them. So I thought it was kind of an interesting, like, even if it was like a decision But in the Vanity Fair, like they basically said, like some of those decisions were like planned out, like the fact that they wanted it to be in that kind of setting. Was it for aesthetic purposes, or is there something more, behind it? Interesting to note that George Lucas was on the set of this episode.
Oh,
and
that's cool.
that is when he actually, there's a photo of him holding the puppet Grogu. And that took place, apparently, Rosario Dawson had confirmed that she was on set just off to the side when that photo was taken. So
cool. I thought that was season 1 when that was taken. That's cool.
I did too, because it came out in January, is when Favreau kind of like sent out that picture. But apparently it was confirmed.
You were way ahead on, obviously, since it's all done and ready in the pandemic, but that's crazy.
So to think that they're that far ahead, who do you think that they've cast for Thrawn?
So they could easily go with the guy who voiced him.
Who voiced him again?
I was looking at images of him yesterday, and if you throw makeup on him, you could totally do it. Hang on. Thrawn voice actor.
He needs to be super athletic.
Lars Mikkelsen. It's Mads Mikkelsen's brother.
Oh.
I was like, I know the name. He was already in Star Wars.
I was like, is there any like famous actors that you would be like, oh, this would be perfect, or this person like really?
He would be good because he was good in Sherlock. But again, Cumberbatch, another Sherlock actor.
What's his name? Elrond.
Yeah, Cumberbatch would be good, but he's been in so many things recently.
Yeah, it's true. Jeremy Irons,
Wes Bentley.
What's his name? Elrond, the guy who played Elrond.
It would be nice if they
Hugo Weaving.
Let me look at his picture.
Red Skull.
I don't know if I like the cadence
Anderson.
of his voice so much. He is more drawn out. I would want somebody that kind of has that ability to kind of talk in a lower voice and just kind of just be very methodical, very kind of quick-witted. Where Elrond to me is more kind of a flowy, elegant.
Well, think of Mr. Anderson.
That's what I'm saying. Like he's like Mr. Where
that's Thrawn, dude. That's Thrawn.
More of like.
He hasn't seen Rebels yet. He doesn't know how.
You're right. Sorry,
I can only hear him through words on.
Exactly. You put in Hugo Weaving in your fan casting. I am basing it off of what we've already seen in the character.
All right.
Hot button topics all around, apparently. So, anything else that you're
last thing I want to say?
Yeah.
Then I'm out of here. You get 1 hour on the show or 2 hours? How long do you guys record?
I usually try to keep it.
We try to keep it at an hour, but you just never know.
Last thought that I have is how much I love the Ahsoka theme and that it was in full force in this episode. Yeah. It gave me the little misty eyes, especially at the end when it was like the full sweeping Ahsoka theme. I thought was amazing.
What I liked about Ahsoka and Rosario Dawson's portrayal is that it's nice having the guy who created the character write and direct this, because it's little things like even at the end when they're having the when he's taking Baby Yoda back into the ship, and they're communicating between Ahsoka and Baby Yoda in that moment. Her just giving the very respectful head nod down to me is very Ahsoka. And it's just little things like that to me is what makes a character is like, because, she was probably told like, hey, you need to do like this kind of body language in order to capture the character.
Yep. Agree. That and just even the emotion that she had in her face when she's talking about why she won't take him on, because like all the pain of Anakin was there in her expressions. Which I thought was, again, kudos. I know some people are kind of still griping about it, but I thought she did a really good job. An unenviable task, like her stepping into this role where tons of Ahsoka fans,
and yet she was
Ezra,
and yet she was fan cast for this. Like if the Vanity Fair article like talks about like how it kind of began, how the snowball kind of started as fans, casting her for the role already, and then that gave traction enough that somebody at Lucasfilm was like, oh, well, what about this person? And then Filoni's like, oh, yeah, that would work, And then, like, all of a sudden he's talking to Favreau, and he's like, I'm thinking about Rosario Dawson, And she's like, I know her. And then it's just like, ba-boom. It all went down.
My favorite social media post was from Kevin Smith afterwards, and because they worked together on Clerks 2.
Right.
That's great.
He ended his whole blurb about her saying, "And remember, you never go Ahsoka to mouth."
I saw that. It was good.
That's so funny. By the way, there's some really, really weird autocorrect. Like if you type in Ahsoka, like it flips the S and the H around.
Yeah, it's annoying.
Yeah, totally annoying. So not everybody on Twitter is a dumb dunderhead. They're just autocorrected. One other thing that you might want to know is that the HK-87 droids that we saw, she had 2 of them battled, these battle droids.
Yeah, it was the old Republic droids.
Yeah.
They had a logo on their helmet.
On the head. I did not notice this. I read that as you probably did too. I didn't notice it at all. I went back to try to see if I could find it, and I still couldn't see it.
Well, somebody like took a pause when it's kind of at the side like this, and then they lightened the screen, but you can see the symbol of the 7th Fleet, which is
Thrawn.
Huh.
Yeah. So those 2 droids were on loan. Yeah.
yeah, totally. Hey, burn this village down. I'll give you these droids.
Yeah. Yeah. Just saying, your deposit's probably shot now.
How did that happen? So anyway, I just thought that was kind of a cool little connection there too. That also kind of underscores or emphasizes oh yeah, she knows where Thrawn is. So that is her master. So, any last thoughts before we kind of close this out here?
None.
There's so much cool stuff that could happen. I just want to see it unfold.
Yeah, I mean the potential is open. I know some people were down on Filoni for this episode. Some, I'd seen some people.
Damn.
Who said that?
Man, screw those guys.
Screw the feeds. It's like the people that hated last week's episode and they thought it was lame because Carl Weathers just messed things
Because
up.
they hate Carl Weathers, and I thought he did a fantastic job.
You talk,
I
man.
signed up for Carl Weathers acting school.
Why is Cara Dune so happy to see the ship come down, but it looks like trash? Like she's yeah, so good to see him again.
This is your friend.
If I pulled up and my vehicle looked like that, you'd be happy to see me, but you'd be like, "What happened to your car, man?"
Would it get hit by your neighbor's tree?
Yeah, well, that did happen.
She's probably oh, here goes Mando again, wrecking his ship.
Oh, you think it's just like a normal everyday?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Come on, that's part of the fun. The Razor Crest could beat the crap.
I'm just saying the Razor Crest. I would have been okay if the Razor Crest was limping into the battles for the last part of the season, but whatever. I'm not crapping on the whole.
Especially being towed by pod racers.
I did want to point out every week I've been or every week we've been talking about the episodes. The IMDb rating for this episode was at 9.6 last time I checked, which is the highest ranked of all of the Mandalorian episodes so far.
What did the episode before that you hated, The Siege? What did it get?
8.6, and I didn't completely hate it. There's things that I liked about it.
Listen, if you're right of Nick on the hating things scale, you hate it.
So true.
Maybe I was just in a bad mood that day. If you're not in a bad mood and you enjoy this show, rate and review us on iTunes. We would really appreciate that. Give us an email at theforceiswelldone@gmail.com. It's all spelled out. theforceiswelldone@gmail.com. Address it to Chris because he named the show and that email, which is so awesome. If you do
what I do,
if you do like what we do, go over to jayandjack.com. There's a Patreon link right there. Help support this show and everybody that does their part for the people of the show. At this point, I'd like to thank the patrons that make this show possible. Special thanks. I work so hard on these names for the show.
You do a great job.
It's. I hope I didn't. I hope these live up to the hype of this episode. So first,
they won't.
Oh,
come on now.
I think these are pretty solid. So
I know Matt brought it. Let's hear him.
Maggie the Magistrator.
Well, yeah, I did have that, but okay. Ahsoka attack in Tokyo.
Oh,
okay, all right.
Beskar Eckhart, Richter.
Oh,
yeah. Grand Admiral. Sorry, Thrawn. Yeah, I know. The Ed one was the hardest. Yeah.
Grand Admiral.
It was either
Admiral.
or Cal Edan. But no, that's okay.
You had me in the first half, man.
Nick, you already guessed it, and my daughter actually picked this. My daughter's name is Maggie, so she was like, "How about Magistrate Maggie?"
Oh,
It works.
So, and we have Jedi Joanne Tano.
Okay.
My favorite. And how could I not? Like, it's been so long. There's not enough G words in this entire Star Wars lexicon. So of course, I'm going to name him
Grogu, Greg.
There you go.
Grogu.
Grogu.
Ragu.
Why is it?
Grogu.
No, it's Grogu, but are we calling him Grogu?
Oh, could be Grogu.
I was going with Grogu Greg, but you like Grogu?
Grogu.
You know, Matt,
Grogu sounds more like ragu.
Matt,
Ragu, yeah.
I'll stand in. I'll stand in for Jack on this one. I'll say, you know what? That was definitely not your worst one yet.
Well, this was a great show. It was one in a million. Thanks for joining us, Jay, and Chris. Of course, it's always great to have you along.
Well, to be honest, I was really looking like jumping on and hanging out with you guys, and then Chris showed up, and I was like,
"Wow, too soon." I don't think Mr. Prowse would have appreciated that one.
Oh, R.I.P.
Daniel Jones, what are you talking about?
Yeah. Prowse is, never mind.
Well, gone but not forgotten. So,
Except by George Lucas.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's kind of forgotten before he was gone, but
Nice guy. I met him in 2007.
That's for another podcast. Thanks for joining us this week. So, see you next week.
see ya.
See ya.
Bye.